Welcome back to Hidden Oaks. It's the new year. The freeze is done. We came out here after the freeze, looking at everything, looking at the damage. Some of them did okay, some of them did not. And now that it's a week later, we really need to look at what survived, what will come back hopefully, and what do we maybe need to help along a little bit. "2022 is over." Look at this. I have thousands of robins in my yard. They are everywhere. Everywhere. Look at them. Right after the freeze. They were here the day before the freeze. They were here the day after the freeze. And my garden doesn't look so great. Some plants may come back, some may not. The rosemary looks fine. Rosemary's gonna come back. And look what we got. Early arrival. We need about 1 million more of these. Our brassicas look very sad. They're all frozen, but we do have new growth. We got new growth coming. So I'm thinking they're gonna make it. See, we got new leaves coming. We got some frozen off ones, but we're gonna leave it alone. The garlic should come back. The carrots are gonna do fine, looks like. And other than that, we've got some peas out here that did pretty well, that we had covered up. So I think we're gonna be okay. The plant that did the best in this weather with a little bit of cover was the kale. So we harvested a bunch of kale before the freeze came in, and it already has come back quite a bit. So I think the kale is gonna do just fine. And here is the garden cat. They won't leave me alone. Welcome back to Hidden Oaks. It's the new year. The freeze is done. The sun is out, but it's cold. We had 75 degrees the last 2 days. Crazy. Beautiful spring weather, and today we're back in like the 40s, 50s, which is fine. It's wintertime, so that is good. But I wanted to do a quick inspection on the garden and see how it did. We came out here after the freeze, looking at everything, looking at the damage. Some of them did okay, some of them did not. And now that it's a week later, we really need to look at what survived, what will come back hopefully, and what do we maybe need to help along a little bit. So I thought I'll take you along in the garden and show you what we need to do so that come spring we have everything in bloom. And we tried with these lemon trees. They were covered completely, and of course we got the little pool noodle here, which is good, but we still we lost all the leaves, so it's dropping all the leaves. But if you're looking right here, let me see what's a good example. If you're looking right here, can you see that? So it's got some new and fresh green growth. So I think it's gonna make it just fine. There's another lemon tree. Now this is my tangerine. It's a lot bigger than the other one, so it fared better, but it was also too big to cover up. So we really weren't able to cover it up or protect it from the frost, at least not the leaves. So we expected we would have some leaf drop here. It's actually looking pretty good. It's a fairly established tree. It's about 5-6 years old. And it looks okay. So I think it's gonna come back. The limbs look pretty good. There's some good green growth on it. So I think it's gonna do just fine. Elderberries, they really don't care. Right? They're made for whatever weather. They're super drought resistant. They don't care if they're flooded. They don't care if it gets cold down here or hot. They survive in everything. So we already got a bunch of new growth, and this is actually a good time for us to take cuttings as well. Hi, Nala. All these cats. This is one of our mulberries, and if you're looking right here, that thing looks pretty good too. So it came through the frost just fine. Let me see, can we zoom into this? Hang on. There we go. You see all of this green new growth? Now, we are not done with winter yet, so it's probably going to die down a little bit more, but it made it through the big frost. The figs look good. So the trees seem okay. I think the citrus is all going to come back. I think they were big enough to kind of withstand it with the covering that we were able to do. So they are obviously in-ground trees, so there's no moving them inside with a pot. But I think they're good. The rest of the trees did just fine. The only other ones that I'm worried about are the moringa. But again, we covered them up, so I think they should be fine and they'll come back just fine. Now, when it comes to the garden, it looks a little sad right now because it's winter time, so there's not a whole lot blooming, but there's still a lot of stuff that's going strong, and our brassicas are actually doing really well. The rosemary does not care. It is doing just fine. Now, I came out here last week to check right after the frost, and obviously you have a lot of stuff that froze off and that's gonna die down. So we'll be able to come out here this weekend and prune some of that dead stuff off. But the garlic, look at that. It's coming back strong. So I think that is gonna do just fine. The carrots look nice, green, strong, so they are gonna be just fine as well. You've got some mints and stuff over here in pots because they spread underground like bamboo, so if you just plant them in the ground, they'll go everywhere. But they died back for the cold, but they are gonna come back, no issue. See that there's still green on here, and they'll come back just fine. These have grown quite a bit since last week. So I came out here, we had some initial growth on it, and there's a lot more new coming right now. So I'm pretty happy with that. We got them in the ground too late, so they're not as big as I would like them to be, and no heads or anything have formed yet. But we still got 90 days, so I think we'll get an okay brassica harvest out of this. Out of everything, I think the kale did the best. Look at how beautiful. This is gorgeous. We got some blue and some green curly kale right here, and they are just gorgeous. I love this stuff. We've got a lot of cleaning to do out here. I'm not necessarily going to expand the garden per se, but there are some design changes I want to make with trellises and fencing and rearranging some beds and putting them in other places. I don't want to overextend myself this year with the garden, which I feel like I kind of did last year. I'm probably going to keep it more compact than I did last year, just because I know I'm going to be traveling a lot again for work, and I'm not going to have the amount of time that I would like to have to go through and weed and tend to everything. So there will be, cat, what's up? There will be some changes with the garden that we're going to implement here with fencing and trellises. And I'm going to try to focus as much as possible on stuff that grows easily with the least amount of maintenance around here. So we're definitely going to be planting some sweet potatoes again, because these things grow themselves basically. The carrots we put in look really good, so I'm gonna plant some more carrots here coming up. And we're going to be starting with our seeds and our seed starts here. So we are getting all of that set up with the heat mats for the peppers, the cucumbers, and the tomatoes are going to get started real soon as well here, so that we can get them into the ground come mid-March. We should be able to get stuff into the ground. Typically, our last freeze down here in 8B, we're 8B in the Florida Panhandle, is not until like the beginning of April or so, but we should be able to get stuff in the ground mid-March, I'm thinking. So wish me luck with that. All of these gardening cats. We got all of these cats just everywhere. I can't leave the house. I can't get out without them following me around. Huh? Y'all getting for bugs? Got some mice? Hmm? Oh. They're everywhere. Just chilling. I loving the sun too. If you're looking at the garden right here, these big beds, they're gonna stay where they are. We're not moving these, but I want to build a couple more of these, maybe a little bit lower to the ground, not quite as high up, because then I don't have to fill them with as much. But they are holding up beautifully. We've built these ourselves and they are amazing. We've grown a lot of stuff in these. So these will stay, but then the pump house right here, that thing is obviously not going anywhere, but I want to plant some stuff along that wall that does good in the shade, because that side is pretty much in the shade all day long. And then extend a fence line, probably cattle panels, all down here. And there'll be more beds coming, more raised beds probably, or not necessarily in ground, but above ground dirt, so to say. And then I want to plant that fence line all the way with raspberries, blackberries, and so on. And then we come over here. That tree's gonna stay. These trellis arches are gonna either go or be moved or reused for something else. These beds, once we get the broccoli and the kale and the cabbage and everything out of them, these are gonna be moved somewhere different as well. And then eventually I would love to put a greenhouse, like just a small potting house where I can start seeds and store pots and gardening tools and all that fun stuff right in this area right here. Now, still lots of plans, lots of moving and stuff going on, but I am going to try to take it a little bit slower this year, because I have stretched myself too thin last year between work and travel and the farm and the livestock and the garden and then the preserving of the food. I was not able to grow what I wanted. I was not able to preserve what I wanted either. So I was really hard on myself for not being able to do what I set out to do. And I want to start this year better. I don't want to stretch myself too thin, knowing that I'm going to be gone again a lot. I'm just going to go smaller with my garden and grow as much as I can with the lowest maintenance that I can, and then being able to put as much food as possible away. If you are in 8B or in Florida Panhandle down here, down south where it rains a lot in the summer, let me know what you are growing, what kind of varieties you're growing. I'd love to hear from you. But for me, I'm going to keep it pretty simple this year with what we're actually eating. The winter garden is typically a really good producer for me. Now, of course, with the freeze, we had a lot of stuff die back, but we like the winter vegetables. So we like the cabbages and the broccoli and the cauliflower and the kale and all of that we can't necessarily grow here. There are some kale and spinach varieties, though, that I ordered from Haas Tools, and they're supposed to do okay in our summer around here too. Maybe not in August, but we'll be able to extend that growing season a little bit. So I'm excited about those. And then more herbs because I like to make my herbal products. So more coming on that, and then more trees to be planted. And yeah, I'm just excited the sun is out and the cats are out and things are green, and some of the grass is already greening up, even though it's obviously January. So I think the grass is a little early on this, but I'm excited to see some growth, and I'm excited to get the garden updated a little bit and more organized. And that's gonna be a focus for me this year, is to grow what I can, give myself some grace when it doesn't work out the way I want it to, and I'm just gonna take it slower in general with everything that I'm doing, with the gardening, with the market, with traveling for work. And I'm gonna get better at saying no. And for us, we're still gonna be here. We're going to be here for the community. We've had a couple of people here locally reach out to us for some hands-on classes on processing livestock. So we're going to help them out and do that, because that's really what it comes down to, is community and working together and learning from each other and being able to build the life that you want. And that's what it's all about.
That side left and this front.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it's strong. But
Yeah, whenever you're ready to turn them out, you can turn them out too.
when it's meal time, they'll probably all.
Yep.
And you hear the shake and they're like, come eat.
And our guardian dogs are not big eaters anyways. They like to kind of nibble.